So can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So we first we studied the different assumption to compute the protection switching time. Then we studied the dedicated path protection. Then we studied the dedicated path protection procedure and then protection switching time. Then we studied shared path protection procedure and then the shared path protection switching time. Okay, so then is the dedicated link protection. Okay, so dedicated link protection. So the idea is like it's a instead of path protection, it is a link protection. So link protection means that you have a let's say there was an existing light path. This is the source of the light path. So connection, as we know, connection represents the light path here. So here this is your light path source. This is your light path destination, and then these two nodes are the intermediate nodes. So let's say there is a fiber cut in between these two nodes. So since it's a link protection, so at the beginning when this light path was set up, it was decided that for every link in this path, in this in the physical topology what that light path uses, so corresponding to every path there is a backup path. So corresponding to this fiber also there is this 3 fiber links are there. So whenever there is a cut over here, then we have to use this backup route. Okay, so this, since this is the failed link, so it is called the link source, and this is the link destination, or you can write it failed link source or failed link destination. Then so when this cut is there, so first these two end nodes will detect that there is a fiber cut. Then this link source node. So in case of path protection, now you can remember that these two nodes will send the link fail message to the connection source node and connection destination node respectively. But in this case, since this is a link protection, so it is not that entire backup path will be used. So corresponding to this active path, there is a backup path. So here, instead of that, so for every failed link, so then there will be one backup route. So now there is no need to send your link fail message over here. So this node, it can itself initiate the protection mechanism. So link source node sends setup message along backup route to link destination. So this message will be sent. So this is a control message. This name is the setup message. This message is the setup message. So this setup message will be sent from the link source to the link destination along the backup route. Okay. So the message reaches over here. Then the link destination node confirms message along backup route. So it sends confirm message. So this message is the confirm message. So this is another control message. So it is sent by the link destination node towards the link source nodes. So it is confirming. Okay. And since it is a dedicated protection, so this you can say that these optical cross connects are already configured. Okay. So this, since this optical configuration, so it is done. So what is there? Maybe excluding the last one, all other configuration has been done. So then we should not incorporate the reconfiguration of the optical cross connect. So that timing we will not consider because this is a dedicated protection. So already it was there. Okay. So just so that's why. So reconfiguration timing we will not consider. So after this confirm message reaches the connect link source node, then shared link protection switching is complete. Okay. So this this optical cross connects at the intermediate node. So there was a node over here. There was a node over here. So in this node, the optical cross connects were reconfigured. So that's why you can send the setup message. You can send this setup message because the path was already there. Only issue was that you are not using it. Maybe at the here only there was a you are not accepting that signal. Okay, and it maybe here you are transmitting, but you are not accepting because if you are using 1+1 protection, you are not using it. And in case of 1:1 protection, you have to reconfigure over here and reconfigure over here, and as well as reconfigure in the these places also. Now, in case of 1:1 protection, you have to reconfigure over here and over here. But these intermediate positions, it was already in place, so it was already reconfigured. No need to reconfigure further because the optical it's a dedicated path. And it's a dedicated wavelength. And one issue you have to consider, suppose this was my active path. So active path was using wavelength lambda1. So now there is a cut over here. Now my backup path is this. So in this segment and in this segments, still I am using lambda1 wavelength. So here in this portion, I have to use lambda1. Because for all our discussion, we considered these nodes do not have wavelength converters. So these nodes do not have wavelength converter. If there is one wavelength converter, you could have used a different wavelength. But for all our discussion, you can see from the very beginning, we discussed that there is no wavelength converter. Okay. So when the light path request comes, so this active path is decided and corresponding to, if you are following the link protection, so corresponding to, first you have to identify how many links you are using. Let's say here you are using 3 links. So for every link, there should be one backup route. And as soon as this link fails, then only the end nodes will be activated. So specifically the source node of the failed link will initiate the backup process and it will use this backup route. But you have to use the same wavelength lambda1. So since these are reserved, so that optical cross connect here are already configured. Only thing, depending on whether you are using 1+1 protection or 1:1 protection, this access at this node and this node may require to be reconfigured. Okay. So this is the operation. So now if you compute protection switching time, so protection switching time means that first you have to failure will be detected. So that F is there. F is there. Now you have to use this through this backup path. You have to send the setup message. So let's say there are total m number of hops. M number of hops or what is m? If I check this value, so it is there. So number of hops, in the backup route from the source node to the destination node. Since it's a link protection, so you should be saying this thing. In link protection, the source node and destination node refers to the source end and the destination end of the failed link. Okay, so that means that this is the dedicated link protection. Is there any problem? Okay. So basically, this is the source node of the failed link, and this is the end node of the failed link. So between these two nodes, along the backup route, there are m number of hops. Okay, so m number of hops are there. So here you can say first hop, second hop, third hop, but total number of nodes will be m+1. So you have to traverse m+1 nodes. So your propagation delay, so first you will be sending the setup message over here, then you will be getting confirm message. So propagation delay will be 2 MP, but processing delay, including the queuing delay, should be, so there are total m+1 nodes, so that should be 2 into m+1 into d. To MP it is there, but it is 2 is there, 2 into m+1 into d. Okay, so this is the dedicated link protection. Now come to the shared link protection. Actually, we discussed it in the last class. So shared link protection, basically same issue. Only issue is that your instead of dedicated protection, you are using shared protection, but it's a link protection. So link protection means corresponding to every link there is a backup route. Okay, so so when there is a failure, so this is your links failed link source node, failed link destination node. So failed link source node will send a setup message along the backup route. Hello, hello. Do you have any doubt? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. So the issue is that, but since it is a shared protection, so somewhere you have to. So basically, when you are sending this signal, this control message, the setup message, you have to reconfigure. So actually, that was not mentioned. That I noticed. So so because otherwise, if the path is not ready, you cannot send a single message. So paths have to be ready. So you here a link source node sends setup message along backup route to link destination. But since it's a shared link protection, so you have to consider the optical cross connect reconfiguration time. So here you can write and the optical cross connects are reconfigured. And the optical cross connects are reconfigured. Okay, so because otherwise, because you have to remember it's a shared protection. Instead of dedicated protection, the path was already there, and the axes were tuned. So axes were accordingly. Basically, the tune means suppose OX is nothing but a switch. So basically, there are some many switches. Actually, in a as a black box, you can consider that different fibers are coming and different fibers are leaving. And there is some ports for local and local drop. So now reconfiguration means that you have to send your signal from one input port to some output port. So let's say your signal is here, lambda 0 wavelength is coming, you have to send it in this direction. So then your this is your lambda 0 signal. So now the path has to be there, otherwise you cannot send a signal. This is nothing but an optical path. So you have to make fiber. So there are some internal structure, there are internal switches, those are connected. We have studied the OXs. So the OXs need to be reconfigured, otherwise you cannot send the setup message. So that to be actually they have considered in the protection switching time, but they didn't mention it. Actually, I checked the material; they mentioned it over here, but the switches need to be reconfigured over here. During this time, needs to be reconfigured. So it is done. Then it goes to the link destination node, the setup message. Now this link destination node, so this link destination node will send the confirm message to the link source node. Now since the path is ready, your axes are tuned. So along this path, it will send the confirm message. So that it will do. So after the link source node knows that path is ready, then he can send the entire signal through this path. Because till now it was the actual traffic flow was not there. Just it was a transmission of control messages. So when it gets the confirm message, it knows that path is ready. Now the signal transmission can be started. So now the actual signal transmission for this light path corresponding to this physical path will be restarted. Okay. So shared link protection switching is complete. So now if we compute the protection switching time, so first it will be detected. So F is there. Now you have to send the setup message along the backup route. So for sending, and then again you will get the confirm message. So that number of hops is equal to your M. So total propagation delay will be 2 MP. Okay. Okay, so F plus 2MP and your total number of nodes will be M plus 1. So processing delay will be M plus 1 into D. So now this is the for this signal flow, this message flow, your processing delay M plus 1 into D. So for reverse rejection flow, there is another M plus 1 into D. So F plus 2M plus 1D plus 2MP. Now this when you are sending this thing, that your setup message, you are also reconfiguring the optical cross connects, because this backup route or maybe some part of it may be used for other active paths. So it is not dedicated for this active path. Okay, so you have to tune the axis. So now how many nodes are there? So basically intermediate nodes are the intermediate hops. Number of hops is m. So total number of nodes along this route is equal to m plus 1, including this node and this node. Okay, so your processing time will be, this reconfiguration time will be m plus 1 into c. Okay, so this is, now it is complete. So now you can see, if you follow this chart, so this is your the protection scheme. So protection scheme, dedicated protection, shared protection, and under dedicated protection there is link protection, path protection, shared protection is link protection, path protection. So this portion we have studied. Now come this portion. So this portion is dynamic discovery of backup route and wavelength. Okay, so basically this is your restoration scheme. So restoration scheme means you have to run time. You have to find out the backup route. Route means here the physical path, backup physical path over the fiber and the wavelength. So initially, when the light path request comes, you do not you do not try to find out any backup route and wavelength. But if a fiber cut happens, then you see that how many light paths are actually using those fiber. So that means those many light paths will be disrupted. So for each and every such light path, you have to find a backup route and corresponding wavelength. So now there can be two approaches. So it's a shared, it's a dynamic situation. So since it is a dynamic situation, it is not it can't be dedicated or shared. Okay, you are dynamically, you are thinking, you are trying to find out. So as you know, since it's a dynamic case, so sometimes you may be able to find out a backup route and wavelength. So then you can say, okay, you can those light paths can be, even if the fiber is cut, you can set up the light path through another physical path and the another wavelength maybe. But if it is not, you cannot find it, then you have to say that okay, the light path is disconnected. Okay. So the advantage is that for protection schemes, so whatever the advantage for protection and dynamic, the protection is a static scenario, and it's a dynamic is a restoration is a dynamic scenario. So the advantage for the restoration scheme is that you do not require to reserve any wavelength and physical path. Okay, or you can say wavelength along the physical path for an active light path. So when there is a cut, fiber cut, then you explore. So your resource utilization efficiency is better for restoration schemes. But the disadvantage is that sometimes you, after the fiber cut, since the resources have not been reserved at the beginning, so runtime you try to find out resource and you see that resource is not available. So then this light path is disrupted, light path is broken. So then you have to wait till that fiber, what was that cut, that was a cut, so till it is ready. So after it is ready, or maybe you have to wait for other light paths, some of the light paths, the holding time is over, then it goes away, then you can use that path along, then you can use the wavelength along the path. Okay. So for restoration scheme, there are two things, two approaches: the link restoration, path restoration. Okay, the backup path is not determined at the time of connection setup, like in the protection scheme. It is determined dynamically from the available spare capacity upon a failure. Okay, so restoration procedure. So basically you can see that the idea is that, let's say this is a source node, this is a destination node. Okay, so let's say source and destination. So this is a source node and destination node of the light path. Okay, so there was a path, something like there is a different path. So let's say there is a cut. So the source node now will send this message is called your so it's a broadcast message, sends out broadcast message. So this message is the broadcast message. So this broadcast message, it sends to all available outgoing links, because your path was something like this. Let's say cut is there. So this path is not, you cannot send your traffic along this path to the destination. So the source node will now send the broadcast message. So whatever the existing links are there. So let's say there was a link like this, there is a link like this. So along this link, it will send a broadcast message. So this broadcast message will reach here. So it has some outgoing links. So along these links, it will also send the broadcast message. Then it will come to this node. It will again send the broadcast message. So finally, one broadcast message, it is expected that it will reach the destination node of the light path. But actually what we do that there is a upper limit. So how many hops it can travel, or how many times you can make the broadcast. So here you broadcast once, then this is second time broadcasting, this is third time broadcasting. Let's say there is a peak value maximum another 15. So maximum 15 times you can broadcast. And after even after that, if the broadcast message doesn't reach the destination, then you would not broadcast. Then you consider no, it is you stop broadcasting from that node, from that particular node. So if it reaches to some node, so already the count is 15, so it will not broadcast further. It will stop. Because when you are sending the broadcast message, you are also reserving the wavelength. Okay. So you are reserving the load. This is the connection source node. This is the connection destination node. So you are reserving the wavelength. So since let's say this is connected to another node, this is connected to another node. So if you want to reserve wavelength lambda 0, so now if another request is coming, you cannot use it because already you have reserved it. But you are not sure whether you will be able to use this wavelength along this path, because this is the local action this node is taking. Then this node is taking, then this node is taking. So finally it goes to the destination node. If it within this there is upper limit, so following that it may reach the destination node. So if the destination reach, so this is broadcast message, and reserve means reservation of the wavelength. Okay, so when it reaches the this broadcast message reaches the destination node, so destination node will send the this is your confirm message. Let's see the, so when a broadcast message reaches destination node, the destination node sends a confirm message along the path traversed by the broadcast message to the source node. Okay, so it reaches the destination, so there has to be some path, otherwise the broadcast message will not reach the destination node. So now the destination nodes along this path, so let's say through this link it will send the confirm message. So now this node will send the confirm message because it knows the path from where that broadcast message has come. So just you are tracking, then ultimately it will go to the source node. So now the source node understands that, okay, along this path, one wavelength is available through which I can set up a new light path. Okay, so this is the approach. So now if you read, you will get it Source node seeking a backup path sends out broadcast message. So this message is the broadcast message, with each broadcast message having a maximum hop limit on all outgoing links and simultaneously reserve the wavelength. On the along that path. Intermediate nodes forward the broadcast message while reserving the wavelength on outgoing links. When a broadcast message reaches destination node, the destination sends a confirmed message along the path traversed by the broadcast message to the source node, because destination node can see that along which path the message comes. So it just through the link it receives the broadcast message along the path, it sends the confirmed message. Upon receiving confirmed message, intermediate nodes configure their cross connects and forward the message. So upon receiving a confirmed message, intermediate nodes configure their cross connects and forward the message. So now actually the optical cross connects are configured, because intermediate node receives it, then it knows that okay, this path is I'm getting a confirmed message, so I can keep this the switch configuration. So when the confirmed message reaches the source node and unidirectional light path, so light path is always unidirectional, so it has to be because it's from source node to the destination node, so it's a directed path. Light path is always unidirectional. So it is established between source node and destination node. Wavelengths that were reserved during the broadcast passage but were not utilized for the backup path are released by cancel message. So there is another message, cancel message. So that will undo that wavelength reservation which are not being used, that are sent by a node upon a timeout. That are sent by a node upon a timeout or upon exceeding the number of hops that a broadcast message can traverse. Okay, so the idea is just that so source node will send the broadcast message, it will go to the intermediate node, so then this node will broadcast, ultimately it reaches here. So this is your broadcast message, the destination node will reach it. So there is a upper limit, there is a hop count. And if the hop count crosses, then the one intermediate node will not send the the broadcast packet. Okay, and then the destination node will send the confirm message. And when the confirm message is come to the intermediate node will also will send the message along the path, and also it will reconfigure its switch. Okay, but this is reserved. Let's say this is reserved, but it is not used. So then after the path is set up, then this node it will send a control message and undo this reservation. Okay. Or let's say it goes to this path, some path, and then it sees that that hop count reach is crossed. So that means this wavelength reservation is not needed. So those intermediate node will send the control message and undo the wavelength reservation. Okay, because wavelength is a precious element. So without knowing, you are reserving the wavelength for this time period. So this node will wait for some time period. So long it waits for, it expects that the confirmed message will come within this time limit. If it doesn't get, then it understands that it may not be needed. So along this path, I cannot reach the destination. Suppose you are sending signal, you're sending signal along this path. Let's say this is connected, and it waits for the confirmed message to come. But if it finds that confirmed message do not come within the stipulated time, so this node will undo the wavelength reservation along this path. Okay, so that is there. So now we can compute the restoration time. So we are not using protection switching time. The terminology has changed. It is the restoration time. So now it's a link restoration time. So the idea is simple, that corresponding to, if there is a cut over here, actually I have not done any figure, so it is same thing. So that's why it is not shown. Let's say there is a cut. This is your connection source. This is a link restoration. Okay, this is connection source. I'm using the same terminology. This is connection source. This is the connection destination. This is the link source. This is the link destination. Okay, so when there is a cut, so let's say the alternate path is available like this. Let's say there are some intermediate nodes. Okay, so it's a link restoration time. So first it will be detected. So that is F. Then along this backup route, so it's a link protection, link restoration. So this failed link will initiate, actually the link source node will initiate the restoration process. So it will find in runtime, nothing is reserved, that whether, so since you are using link restoration, so basically instead of this active path, now you try to use this path. So same wavelength, whatever you are using here, that needs to be used now. So it will explore, it will send the this along this backup, so all possible routes. There is no backup route at the beginning. So all possible route will broadcast the message. Ultimately, if the message reaches here, so if it reaches the connection destination, so the number of hops is m. Okay. So your processing delay will be m plus 1 into d, and again this confirm message comes. So 2 into m plus 1 d, and your propagation delay is mp, and again it comes along the same route. So this is a 2mp, and you have to reconfigure your switches. Okay, so this is there. So reconfiguration, because this is a dynamic scenario. You don't know that the switch needs to be connected to which input and what output. Okay, that you don't know. You don't know that whether this port should be connected to this port or this port or this port. You don't know. And maybe, and what wavelength you are using. So you know that there are multiple wavelengths. So one is a lambda 1 switch, another one is a lambda 2 switch. So whether the lambda 1 needs to be routed along this path, or lambda 2 need to be routed, or whether lambda 1 needs to be routed to a different port. So that those things are the outgoing physical port, the incoming port, the wavelength, all are unknown to you at the beginning. So depending on your requirement, you have to reconfigure. So reconfiguration cost is there. So now since you have total m number of hops, your number of node involved is m plus 1. So your reconfiguration time is m plus 1 into c. So that is the total link restoration time. So similarly, you can compute the path restoration time. So path restoration means that along, so now the link fill message it will be understood, it will be identified over here that there is a failure. Then it will send the link fail message to connection source node, and it will also send the link fail message to here. But this is basically, this portion is more important because it's a source initiated restoration process. Okay. So now along the source node to the destination connection source node, from the connect, so same thing is done, only your source node should be connection source node and destination node should be connection destination node. So you have F, then this delay you have to consider. Link fail message has to send, has to be transmitted. So F plus the number of hops. So this from this point to this point, the number of, from this point to this point, the number of hops is n in general. So n can be, value can be anything. So n into p, the propagation delay, n plus 1 into d is the processing delay. So now it reaches the connection source node. So now you have to find out this path. So along this path, the number of hops is m. So the same thing, 2 into m plus 1 into d plus 2mp. That will be there. 2 into mp plus 2m plus 1d. And also you have to reconfigure the switches. So d plus m plus 1, sorry, this is your m plus 1 into c. So this is your switch configuration time. Same thing as the earlier case. M plus 1 into c. Okay, so only thing is that you have to send your message. In case of path restoration, you have to send your message from this point to this point. So then you have to consider the corresponding propagation delay and the processing delay. So that is added extra. Okay, so this is the all schemes, all these your protection and restoration schemes. Okay, so as we discuss also that I have already sent you these materials, so that original papers I have sent. So see there the advantage, disadvantage, which may not be written over here in this slide, but I mentioned, and in the paper it is written. So you can see those things that that four approaches. So you know that restoration and protection, what are the advantages, disadvantage, and for in case of link protection and let's say path protection. So that also you understand looking at the your procedure and the protection switching times. Okay. Okay. So do you have any doubt anywhere? So now we'll go to different topic. So just see it and let me know if you have any query anywhere. Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
So is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. So now this topic is over. So we'll go to a different one. I'll show you another topic. So this is okay. Achha, this thing actually we had discussed. Um, so can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. So basically, in so long we are considering that your we do not have wavelength converter. So since wavelength converter is not there, so that means so wavelength converter is a device which can in the optical domain can change the wavelength of the signal. Okay, so if you consider is a black box like here, so this is a wavelength converter. So let's say you have a input stream. So you have a light path with color lambda 1. So in optical domain, the color will change. Then you will get lambda 2. This is a wavelength converter. So it's an optical layer device. But in optical layer device till now, this device till now it is not there. Okay. Because in optical domain, since it's a you are changing the wavelength, so that means you are changing the frequency. So it has to be a nonlinear device. Okay, so like if you put a if you use square law, so your input signal is y equal to a sine omega t, and if you use a you make it square, so it is a squared sine square omega 2, and sine square omega 2 basically it corresponds to 2 omega. So you can find out 2 omega. So from omega you are getting 2 omega. So using such strategy you have to use you have to get a different wavelength. So still in optical domain, those devices are not there, but in electrical layer, those devices are available. Because if you simply use a optical converter, so let's say instead of wavelength converter, I use a OEO. So now your input signal has a color lambda 1. So now through a photodetector, you convert the your optical signal to electrical current. Okay. Now you use another laser source. So here, when you are through laser source, you can convert the signal again in the optical domain. But this time you can generate a different wavelength as per your requirement. So now you can generate a wavelength lambda 2. So through OEO converter, you can safely do this. You can change the color. So let's say such device, this wavelength converter in this form, or maybe it's a OEO device. So it is available in one node. So let's say this is my source node. This is my destination node. So you have to require to set up a light path. So you know the physical path. Let's say you are going to use this physical path. So we have studied that RWA problem. So in a RWA problem, then your route is known. So basically, it's not RWA, it's basically wavelength assignment problem. So your route is known. Now you have to assign the wavelength. So we have studied in detail how wavelength can be accommodated. So there the requirement was that you have to use the same wavelength from source node to the destination node along the entire path. So you can use here the lambda 1 signal, lambda 1 color. Okay, so this was a constant. Like let's say in this fiber, all wavelengths are available other than lambda 1. Lambda 2, lambda 3, lambda 4, all are available, but lambda 1 is not there. So then, let's say here, lambda 1 is not available. Okay, lambda 1 is not available. And let's say here, only lambda 1 is available. So then you cannot set up a light path. So although there is one wavelength is available here, and here another wavelength is available, but since the color doesn't match, so you cannot set up a light path. But this problem you could have easily avoided if in this node you put this wavelength converter or this OEO device. Because if you have wavelength converter, you know that in this portion my lambda 1 is available and here lambda 2 is available. So just you use this wavelength converter and here you use the lambda 1 wavelength and here you change the color to lambda 2 wavelength. Let's say this is another node. So this is your source node. So here you can use lambda 1. This is another node. So in this node, this wavelength converter is placed. Okay. So this is one node here. This is another. This is a source node. So here just you change the color. Then you are here. Basically, this is your source node. Let's say this is your. You can give some name. This is X. This is Y. This is Z. So S is here. This is your X. This is Y. Then this is Z. So no issue. You can in this portion use lambda 1. Here you use lambda 2. Now again you can use lambda 1 if wavelength converter is available. Okay. Or if lambda 2 is available, you can use lambda 2. So your wavelength assignment job will be simplified. Hello.
Sir, is there have any latency issue if we just put a wavelength converter in any node?
Your if you do not require to store the signal, the latency will not come. So like you have a photodetector. So for the photodetector, your light falls and then immediately you get current. Okay. And then if you do not require to do any processing, and even if it is there, the processing speed is very fast. But suppose you have to get back read the messages, then you may require some time. But in a photodetector, your light pulse current generates. So there is a very small processing delay that you can have.
And sir, in case of this OEO converter, because there you have to convert the optical to electrical, then processing, and after that we have to again convert.
So no, optical to electrical means that you have a photodetector first. So photodetector signal falls, you get a current. So it's an immediate process. So then you have to understand that it's a light path. So continuously your signals are falling. So all packets suffer the same delay, and it's a very small delay. But there might be some processing delay, but delay is very small. And then you get a signal, and then you are converting the signal through a laser to as an optical signal. Electrical signal are converted to as optical signal. So there is no delay. But if you want to process them, so one thing is there. That okay, optical, you get electrical. So if you have to process them, like you get a signal, so it gets electrical power. Okay, then you get electrical current. So electrical current you get. So let's say you are using on-off keying. Okay, so simplest the modulation scheme is on-off keying. So on-off keying is that sometimes you get 1 and then 0, then again 1, then again 1, then like this. This is your 1 0 1 1. Okay, so when you are generating this signal passes through fiber, then these signals will be distorted, something like this. Okay, so anyway, it's a optical power you are getting. So this optical power you falls on the photodetector, then you get electrical current. So
So
the
it's a, you need to a reshaping and re-amplification process
so
in the
those
electrical
things
domain.
those things is there, though, that you have to reshape it, retime it, re-amplify it. So there is processing delay. Of course, there should be some processing delay, but since it's a continuous process, so my logic is that all messages, all packets, all bits will suffer the same delay. So it will not be that large in magnitude. But suppose if you have to your packets you are getting, and the packets are needs to be processed. So you have a you get back a packet, and then you try to see that you have to forward in this path or that path. So there you have more delay. So there will be some delay. Of course, your this you have to retiming. Then you have to find out a threshold. That along the threshold you have to determine whether it is a 1 or 0. So of course there are some processing delay, but the issue is that you are getting a continuous stream. So they are processed, and actually here we do not put any buffer. So for all doing this job, we do not put any buffer. For OU converter, people do not use any buffer. So that means it's runtime. It is you can enable them. But of course, the speed mismatch is important. Speed matching is important. So let's say you are sending data at the rate of 1 Gbps. So your output should be at the rate of 1 Gbps. So otherwise there will be bit drops. But people do not use buffer. You cannot see that for this operation they put a buffer. But if you get back a packet, then you have to do then some routing. Then okay, you are processing electrical layer, that every bits you have to identify, because in this entire process you do not require to know what is there in the packet. Even if you just the bit comes 1010, you just save them, you transmit. You do not know that where a packet starts, where a packet ends. Those processing is not needed, because you do not require to know what is there inside the packet or the edges of the packet. That you do not require to know. Only thing is
Okay,
that
so that
your
means in physical layer, all the processing will done at the physical layer.
physical layer, of course,
Okay.
not only physical layer. Okay, so
And sir,
just you have to.
one thing, sir, between these two, that means in OEO and wavelength converter, which one is better to use?
Look, of course, the wavelength. Look, since we are not processing, we are not interested to see what is there inside the packet. So wavelength converter is always better. So look, wavelength converter it's a more transparent. So wavelength converter is a device. You send a signal. It's an optical signal coming through a fiber. You do not require to see that whether this is a packet or this is something. You don't care. Just wavelength is lambda 1. It's a device. It converts the color to lambda 2. That's all.
And this
That
is
this
it
is better.
economical? Is it economical than OEO?
This is the issue, is that such wavelength converter doesn't exist till now.
Okay, okay.
So wavelength converter is a device which works in optical domain. So all your operation, internal operation, has to be optical. Because electrical processing, after electrical processing, we can change the color. So then we should not call it wavelength converter. Okay. So wavelength converter is a device which works in optical domain. And wavelength converter is, when it comes, so it will be easier to do, because your all this processing, so just it's more transparent. You get your input is some wave signal with some color, your output is signal with some color.
So
Maybe
this
different.
wavelength converter is still now not commercially available.
No, it is not there. So people, what they are doing, they are trying to use this type of stuff. They are using OEO converter. Okay. So through OEO converter, this is your optical signal. The shape has changed. or there is retiming as the timing has changed. So you convert the signal electrical domain. So when you convert the electrical domain from this, if it works fine, then corresponding to this type of shape, you will get a discrete 1010 when it was like when it was started transmitted at the beginning and this from this transmitter. So you get back the 1011 sequence. It is in the physical layer processing you do. You do not record to go even in the MAC layer. Okay, just physical layer processing. You get back the signal again. You convert to the optical domain. Again, you have to use a transmitter and use transmit.
Okay.
Okay. So so there are two approaches. One is the OU, other one is the wavelength converter, but wavelength converter is not available till now. So people generally do OU. So here, but if you can see that if you use OU or a wavelength converter, you could have changed the color. And if you can change the color, wavelength assignment job is much easier. So we can understand that if you use wavelength converter, you can set up a light path mode easily. So that means there is a continuous path you can get with some specific wavelength. And if it is feasible, then you say that light path can be set up. And if you cannot set up the light path, you say the light path is blocked. So we can compute blocking probability. Okay, so we can compute blocking probability considering wavelength converters are available in the intermediate nodes, or wavelength converter are not available in the intermediate nodes. That is the we'll find out the blocking probability. So here we show a diagram. User A requests a session. Session means you can say it's like a connection request. Okay, to user B. So this user A, user B over some path of an all optical network. So all optical network means that your A, 1, 2, 3 and these nodes, these paths can support optical signal. So that means you can consider these are your optical cross connects. These are optical cross connects. These are optical fibers, and this node A and B, you can consider they are electrical devices, but here there is a transmitter and here there is a receiver. Okay, so there is electrical processing, then you convert the signal in optical domain. So starting from this point to that point here, it's a optical signal. So your entire network is all optical. So this is your network. So here there are H hops or H fibers from A to B on this path. We do not count the access or exit fibers. And H hop request. There are H hops. Okay, from A to B. Actually, there is an issue here. I think there is an issue. It's you see that this is your first hop, this is second hop, this is H hop. So it should not be from A to B, it should be from 1 to H plus 1. So these two nodes, so there are H hops. So that's why you see hop 1, hop 2 to hop H. So it should not be H hops from node 1. It should be from node 1. Node 1 to node H plus 1. So between these two nodes, so 1 to H plus 1, there are H hops. We do not count the access or exit fiber. Basically, you can consider this is your access fiber, so this is your exit fiber. So this fiber is the access fiber, and this is your exit fiber. We consider each session requires a full wavelength of bandwidth, and there are F available wavelengths. Okay, so for every fiber, there are F available wavelengths, and each session requires a full wavelength of bandwidth. So that means your session request is actually a wavelength request, because session's bandwidth is equal to your wavelength bandwidth. So an H hop request, we assume no blocking on the link between A and node 1. So that is there. Actually, there is a error. So between A and node 1, there is no blocking. So there is a fiber, it is always available. You can get a wavelength. It is not an issue. And between node H plus 1 and B. So this is there. So the issue is that if we consider that there is no wavelength converter in this node 1, 2, 3 to H plus 1, you may not get a one particular wavelength free along the entire route. Or sometimes using wavelength converter also you can face blocking, but the chance is less. Because what wavelength converter says will do that here, let's say lambda 1 is free, let's say here lambda 1 is free, let's say here only lambda 2 is free. So if you do not have a wavelength converter, you cannot set up a line. But if you have a wavelength converter, in this segment you use lambda 1 color, and from 2 to 3 use lambda 2 color, and 3 to 4, let's say lambda 1 is available, so you can use it. Okay, so again, if you want to use lambda 1, then again you require a wavelength converter. So now we find the blocking probability. So rho is the probability that a wavelength is used on a hop. This hop. Wavelength usage probability is rho. F equal to number of wavelengths per fiber. So per fiber, we consider the network structure is symmetric. So each fiber, when any fiber, a fiber carries the same number of wavelengths, and the number of wavelengths is F. The probability that the session request between A and B is blocked is the probability. So you have to find out this probability. So PB dash. So PB dash is the probability that a session means you write for the request between A and B is blocked. So your A node is here, B node is here. So here you consider that wavelength is always available. Whatever wavelength you require, it is available. There is no blocking on the link between A and node 1 and between node H plus 1 and B. So this is not an issue. So we have to consider whether this path, so that means this hop 1 to hop H, whether a particular wavelength is available. So it is wavelength changer. So we consider that 1 to H plus 1 you have wavelength changer. All nodes have wavelength changer or wavelength converter. So now, what is the blocking probability? That there exists a hop with all wavelengths used. So this blocking probability is that there exists a hop with all wavelengths used. So only when you will experience blocking. So if you find a hop where all wavelengths are blocked, so there can be a maximum F number of free wavelengths, because your total number of wavelengths is F. So if all these F wavelengths are blocked, then so let's say here there are total F number of wavelengths it supports, and all F wavelengths are blocked. So even if you have a wavelength converter here, and you cannot find any free wavelength because the fiber doesn't support, the node cannot help. So then only the blocking probability can happen. But this situation can take place in any of these H hops. Okay. So this is true for all H hops. So how they compute? So this is this. So what is rho F? So rho is the probability that a wavelength is used on a hop. So rho is the probability that a wavelength is used. Okay. So rho to the power F means that all wavelengths are used in a particular hop. Okay. So let's say this is your, I'm talking of this link. So all wavelengths are used. The probability is rho F. So 1 minus rho F basically says that 1 or more wavelengths are available. So that means not all wavelengths are blocked. So 1 or more wavelengths are available. So now the probability that one or more wavelengths are available in each of these h hops. So whole to the power h, you get this thing. So that means one of the wavelengths are available here, one of the wavelengths are here, one of the wavelengths are available here. So that is this. So maybe here one wavelength available, two wavelength available. So those probability is this thing. So 1 minus this thing will say that in this is the negation of this thing. So that means a negation means this is not true. Okay, so there can be some cases, maybe here none of the wavelength is available, or maybe here and here none of the wavelength is available. So though all those probability you have to take into account. So there can be situation that here no wavelength is available and all wavelengths are available in other segment, or here no wavelength is available and as well as here no wavelength is available. Okay. So just see this thing. So rho is the blocking probability of usage of one particular wavelength in a fiber. So now since you have total F fiber, so that probability of usage of all fibers in a link is rho to the power F. So 1 minus rho to the power F means that either one wavelength is free, or two wavelength is free, or three wavelength free, like that. So this is this probability, and now this probability for all h hops will be this. So this portion basically says that in first fiber one wavelength is free, second fiber three wavelength free, third fiber two wavelength is free, at least one wavelength is free. And 1 minus this thing, this is not true. This is negation. Negation means that here maybe zero wavelength is free. Here zero wavelength free, and here also zero wavelength free, or maybe here zero wavelength free, but other links there are two wavelengths or three wavelengths here. Something, all this combination it is taken care. Okay, so with wavelength changer. Now without wavelength changer, so that means you do not have wavelength changer here. So basically you have to set up a light path from this point to this point, but here we do not consider blocking. So that means any wavelength of your requirement is available in this link, and any wavelength of your requirement is available here. So we have to consider the setting up light path from node number 1 to node number h plus 1. Okay, so now you see that consider that there is, so first we consider there is wavelength converter. Now we consider there is no wavelength converter. Actually this is called wavelength changer. So wavelength changer basically means it's a OEO device, or it may be wavelength converter. So that's why they use the wavelength changer. So here, without wavelength changer. So same thing, rho and then F. Then blocking probability PV is the probability that each wavelength is used on at least one of the h hops. Each wavelength is used on at least one of the h hops. So basically you have h hops. So this is your first hop, this is second hop, then third hop, then this is your h hops. So one of the that each wavelength is used on at least one of the h hops. So here let's say lambda 1 is used, maybe lambda 2 is used here, maybe lambda 3 is used here, lambda 4 is used here. So you have only 4 wavelengths. Here you lambda 1 is used, here lambda 2 is used, here lambda 3 is used, here lambda 4 is used. You have only 4 wavelengths. 4 wavelengths are supported by each fiber. So then you cannot set up a light path if you don't have wavelength changer. So you will experience blocking when each wavelength is used on at least one of the h hops. Okay. So now you can check. So rho is the probability that wavelength is blocked in one fiber. So 1 minus rho is means that wavelength is not blocked in that fiber. Okay. So so that wavelength, this is blocking. So this is wavelength not blocking, wavelength not being used. Then you are so then you have to compute that wavelength is available along the h hops. So that is your 1 minus rho whole to the power h. Okay, it is available. That particular wavelength is available along the entire path. So this is, if this is your availability, 1 minus this is non-availability. So that wavelength is not available. So one particular wavelength is not available along the entire route from the source node to the destination node. And this you have to compute for total f number of wavelengths, because you have total wavelengths in the system. Okay. So if we can specify some value of h, rho, and f, you can see that how the result changes. Rho, h, and f. There are three parameters. So by using these three parameters, you can have different blocking probability for when you use wavelength changer or when you do not use wavelength changer. Okay. This is a small topic, just the blocking probability calculation. So in case of a light path setup, so either you will be able to successfully set up light path, and if you are not able to set up the light path, we say that light path request is blocked. Okay, so we estimate the blocking probability. Okay, so basically what we can do, that let's say so you can understand it's a dynamic situation. So this will be a performance metric for a dynamic network. So in a dynamic network, so let's say there is an existing network, there are 1,000 calls, 1,000 light path request comes. The light path request can come at any point of time, and it should have a source node, it should have a destination node, and it should have a holding time. Okay, so that means when it comes and when it leaves. And light path request means that the bandwidth is same as the that a wavelength can support. Okay, so now you can do your simulation and then see that let's say you run the simulation for 1,000 such requests, and then you see that how many are blocked. Actually, what people do, that they change the load. So instead of 1,000, you can, if you make it 1,000, 200, 2,000, 3,000 like that, and then find out the blocking probability. Because the impact will change depending on your number of connections available, number of connections which arrive to the system. Because in a system, in a network, let's say there is no wavelength converter or wavelength changer, but your traffic load is very low. Maybe one connection comes, then after half an hour another connection comes, and each connection duration is only for 5 minutes. So it is expected there will be no blockage. And it also depends how many fibers you use. So if you have infinite number of fibers, even if without wavelength changer, you will not experience any blocking. So let's say it have different impact on different things. So let's say this is my network, something I have. So let's say each fiber can support infinite number of wavelengths. So that means your f equal to infinite. So if your f is infinite, so let's say one request comes. So this is your source node, this is your destination node. The light path request you allocate like this. It has a color λ1, and we consider there is no wavelength changer. So you can set up. Now let's say there is another request from this node to this node. You set up. It has to be a different color λ2. Let's say any request from here to here. Maybe you can follow this path. Okay. That has to be λ3. So this way you can set up. So you will not experience any blocking because each fiber can support infinite number of wavelength. You do not require wavelength changer. But actually the fiber it has a limited transmission window, so you can support it. Now it is a large value, but still it's a finite number. So that f value is a finite number. So depending on the f value, if you have wavelength converters in the nodes, then it will help to reduce the blocking probability. Okay, so this is there. Acha, any doubt? Hello?
No, sir.
So I'll send you the material. So this is, there is many things in the material, but this is only the thing you know, that it will be okay. How the blocking probability is computed. So now we'll be covering another topic. So that is like wavelength converter. So there is another device. This is called Fourier degenerator. So the process is called Fourier degeneration. So optical reach equal to distance after which signal quality of transmission. So signal quality of transmission is measured through bit error rate. So like we know, the optical signal, the bit error rate is very low. So of the order of, let's say, 10 to the power minus 15. So distance after which signal quality of transmission become unacceptable. So let's say this is we have shown a nice diagram. So actually it's taken from some slides available in the internet. So I find that there are nice diagrams. So let's say this is your source node. You want to set up a light path. So to set up a light path, you have to use a transmitter. Okay. So this transmitter has a finite optical reach. Okay. So that means that if you try to set up a light path from this node, initially your error rate. Okay. So it's basically it is showing maybe the signal power. But signal power is 12 dB value, not the signal power. It's your ratio, signal to noise ratio. Signal to noise ratio they are showing, and that must be. So signal to noise ratio is 12 dB. Then you cover 500 kilometer, then it becomes this value. Then it reduces. So the signal to noise ratio, you see that it decreases from 12 dB, then 11.6, then 11.1, then 10.2, then 9, and then again it even decreases. And let's say, so how much distance you have covered? 500 plus 500 plus 500 plus 500, 2000 kilometer. So after 2000 kilometer, your signal to noise ratio has decreased from 12 dB to 9 dB. Okay, because we know that I'm taking a typical value. Let's say your fiber attenuation is 0.52 dB. So your alpha, this is your fiber attenuation coefficient. Equal to 0.25 dB per kilometer. And let's say if it is 2000 kilometer, 2000 into 0.25. So how much it coming? 50. 0.5. 5. How much? 0.25 to 50. How much? 500 is coming. 1/4. It is coming 500. So then it must not be kilometer. So it should be something else. It is not kilometer. Because this dB is how much loss? Is 0.4 dB. So 0.4 dB loss. And what is the kilometer? Kilometer is 500. It's not kilometer. Must not be kilometer. It's only 4.4 dB. So it's a maybe 500 meter. Something they have taken. 500 meter. So 500 meter means 0.5 kilometer. Let's say it is 0.5 kilometer. So 0.5 kilometer. So you can get it 0.5. So it's 1.8. So 0.8 dB per kilometer. They have taken something. Maybe I don't know what they have taken. 0.8 dB is a large value for attenuation. What I expect, so they might have put the optical amplifiers. Maybe this is kilometer, but they put a optical amplifiers by so that they have not mentioned that what they used but they have to maintain something so that these if it is 500 kilometer and then loss is only 0.4 dB, it's a very low value. So maybe they have used amplifiers, and then they can maintain that signal to noise ratio. Okay. Okay, so just my idea is that we can, so this is a rough calculation. I have not tried to see what is there. Okay, this is not needed to do it. So basically, this is source node. You have a transmitter. You are interested to set up a light path. Then these are the different. This is your fiber. This is your signal to noise ratio. So signal to noise ratio gradually decreases. This may be kilometer, but you have to put amplifiers. Otherwise, this only 0.4 dB for 500 kilometer is not a feasible thing. So anyway, what they experience that after some distance, maybe 2000 kilometer, that your signal to noise ratio had become 9 dB. So there is a loss of 12 dB to 9 dB, the loss of 3 dB. And correspondingly, your BR also will degrade. That means BR will increase. So BR will increase. So if you go even beyond it without regenerator, so this from 9 dB it will further reduce, and then it is not acceptable. So they consider that at least 9 dB signal to noise ratio is required for faithful detection of signal. So there you have to put a regenerator. So optical reach means distance after the signal quality of transmission becomes unacceptable. So optical reach, you can say from here to here. So this is your optical reach. So maximum this much distance you can send signal without regeneration. So this is your optical reach. So optical reach is, it's a reach in kilometer. So optical reach is 2000 kilometer. If these are kilometer, considering it to be kilometer, so we can say optical reach is 2000. It's a feasible value. Optical reach 2000 kilometer, 2500 kilometer, 3000 kilometer. These are available today. So this is your optical reach. So what is the role of regeneration? Extending the range of a signal. How far you can go in all optical domains. So these all the processing, whatever device you use, even if you use optical amplifier, those are optical devices. So optical processing means you do not go to electrical domain. 3R regeneration restores the signal to its original state. So this is but if the signal quality of transmission reaches the threshold value, there is a threshold value, you cannot allow it to be degraded further. So there you have to use a regenerator. The optical signal needs to be regenerated before the quality of transmission falls below the acceptable level, called the threshold value. Optical regeneration, that is regeneration in the optical domain, still in the research phase. So optical regenerator is not available. You see that this is the problem with optical processing. Your regenerator which works in the optical domain, it is not available. But electrical layer, if you process the electrical layer, it is available. So what is there in the 3R regeneration? Reamplification, reshaping, and retiming. So that we know, reamplification means you have to signal power becomes very low value. So you increase the signal power. That is the reamplification. Reshaping means you have this thing that, let's say you wanted to transmit this. You have transmitted this from this source, but let's say after traveling 2000 kilometers, the signal waveform has changed. Okay. Maybe this is the time changed. So now from when you regenerate, you have to get back this signal. So first your signal power has become very low. So you have to increase the power. So that is reamplification. Reshaping means that your it is like this type of shape it has obtained. So now you have to bring it to this shape. And then retiming means that maybe the gapping has changed, the spacing has changed. Okay, so this spacing you have to maintain. So the optical electrical processing, as we know that 3R regeneration is available in optical domain. So it's called OEO. Through OEO, optical processing, it can be done, but it is expensive. So structure of a 3RD generator. So first you have a signal with color lambda1, then you have a receiver. So receiver will convert the signal to electrical domain. So basically it will get electrical current. Then all the processing is done in electronic layer. Okay. Then you put a transmitter. So role of the transmitter will be to convert the signal from electrical domain to optical domain. So there you can use any color, because you are processing from electrical domain to optical domain, so you are not bound to use the same wavelength. You can use the color. So that is called 3RD generation in optical domain, in electrical domain. So structure of a 3RD generator. So you see this OEO device can act as a wavelength converter. Okay, so if we use a OEO device, so OEO device can be used for many purposes. So OEO device can be used for wavelength conversion. OEO device can be used for regenerator, 3RD generator. Okay, the same OEO device, because OEO device you are converting the signal to electrical domain. So if you get electrical signal, this processing is easier. This processes has been standardized. It is being used for many days. So now people can process it, and then you can reshape it, and then you can do all those things: amplification, reshaping, and retiming. And when you are transmitting, you can use a different color. So then it becomes wavelength converter. What is a translucent light path? 3RD generator also provide wavelength conversion at no extra cost. So 3RD generators, as we mentioned, 3RD generators also provide wavelength conversion at no extra cost. So what is a transparent light path? So transparent light path means that this is your source node. This is your destination node. You have to set up a light path. You do not change the color. You are using all this green color, lambda1 color, from the source to the destination node through the intermediate nodes. So, so this is a transparent light path. So basically the idea is that transparent light path do not use 3RD generators. Okay, so we consider that 3RD generators is basically a OEO device. Okay, so transparent light path basically means that it will be all optical. If it is all optical, it is called transparent. So that means it should not use 3RD generator, because we know that 3RD generator, if you use 3RD generator, it's a OEO. So you are going to electrical, you are going for electrical processing. Okay, so if you want to, what is the transparent light path? Transparent light path means all optical light path. So starting from source node to the destination node, these are intermediate nodes. You have all optical light path. All optical means it will not go to electrical layer. And what is a translucent light path? So you have set up a light path from 1 to 5, but at the intermediate node 3, you are sending your signal through a 3RD generator, and 3RD generator changes the color. So important is that it may not change the color, but still if you use 3RD generators, since it's a OEO device, so that means electrical processing is there. So then you cannot say this light path is a transparent light path. It should be called a translucent light path. So translucent light path is a light path where in the intermediate node you are using electrical layer processing. The wavelength converter is not mandatory. Even if you use the same wavelength, but since you are using 3RD generator, which uses electrical layer processing, then this light path. So your light path is basically 1 to 5 light path. So this 1 to 5 light path is a translucent light path. So a regeneration capable node has the option of regenerating signals. So regenerator is an expensive device because it's a you have to do OEO processing. And suppose you are sending signal at the rate of 10 Gbps. So in a light path, you are getting signal at the rate of 10 Gbps, that you have to regenerate it. So you have to provide expensive resources there, high-end devices, so that you can get back the, and after you do OEO processing, your signal. So let's say if you do OEO process, so let's say your light path has been transmitted from here, and let's say here you use the regenerator. So after the regeneration end, your signal will be same as this signal. So if this distance is, let's say, 1700 kilometer, then again you can go 1700 kilometer. So for a long distance communication, let's say there are two cities which are 5000 kilometers apart, you may have to use a regenerator. So there the optical amplifier couldn't give you that benefit, because optical amplifier improves the this thing, that your signal power, but it also adds some noise. And whatever the input noise, it amplifies. So basically whatever the optical power at the input end, it amplifies. So it amplifies the signal, it amplifies the input noise, it amplifies the input signal, it amplifies the input noise. But at the same time, it will introduce its own noise. So basically your signal to noise ratio will become inferior compared to the input end. So so your optical amplifier is not sufficient to sustain this, so you have to go for the regenerator. So but the issue with the regenerator is that it's a OEO processing, it's an expensive device. So all nodes should not have regenerators, So a regeneration capable node has the option of regenerating signal. So regenerator is a resource. So if you install a resource, so you may use it, you may not use it, and if you may not use it currently for a given light path, you keep your resource for future use. Okay. So basically logically you have to use whether you should use the regenerator or not, because regenerator is an expensive device. And as we see that one regenerator, you can regenerate one light path. And many regenerator may not be possible. It is expensive. So a regeneration capable node has the option of regenerating signal. To regenerate or not to generate is a logical, you have to take the decision. So like here, your node, we have shown a linear structure. This is a part of a network. So A is the source node, D is the destination node. So these are the intermediate node, B and C. And let's say your transmission reach is only 1500, let's say 2000 kilometer. So let's say that is gear. Optical reach is 2000 kilometer. So optical reach is 2000 kilometer. This is 800 kilometer. This is 900 kilometer. This is 800 kilometer. So that means you are using a transmitter. So this transmitter has an optical reach of 2000 kilometers. So now if you have 2000 kilometers, so your source node is here. This is your source node. And this is your destination node of the light path. And destination node of light path. So now you see what is the distance, 800 plus 900 plus 800. So this is your 2500 kilometer. But your reach is 2000 kilometer. So that means maximum in optical domain you can traverse 2000 kilometer. After that you have to go for OEO processing or regeneration, because regeneration is not available in optical domain, so it's a OEO processing or optical OEO regenerator. So regenerator generally it is available at the nodes only. So basically, because you see it's a OEO device, it's an active device. So active device you cannot put it on the field. It should be in a proper location only, where there are along with other active devices you also use a regenerator. So regenerator is mostly available in the nodes where your optical cross connect is there, because if this is a local node, so in this node you have local traffic. So for to support the local traffic you have to maintain a laser source, so you require power. So there you put another active device that is called regenerator. Okay. So that we'll be using, that we can use. So your reach is 2500 kilometer. So if you you cannot traverse 2500 kilometer, so you stop here. So there you put a regenerator. Okay, so maybe regenerator is available here also, as well as here, as well as this node. But where you will be using regenerator? You can use a regenerator over here, because this is the maximum distance you can traverse using this transmitter, beyond which you cannot transmit. Because if you want to transmit till this point, your distances will be 2500 kilometers, which is more than 2000 kilometers. So that means signal to noise ratio will be very low. Sorry, signal to noise ratio, signal to noise ratio will be very low. So that means BR will be very high. Okay, so this is a logical decision you have to take. So now that as we are discussing the transparent versus translucent light path. So as we know that translucent light path means this is your source node, this is the destination node of the light path. This is a node where regenerator is also available. So it's a node with regenerator. So any light path that has to undergo at least one regeneration is called a translucent light path. So translucent light path should undergo at least one regeneration. Okay, so here we set up one light path from here to here, but you see that regeneration takes place over here. So this is the light path direction, and you have a regeneration over here. Okay, so this is a translucent light path. And if we want to have a transparent light path, so that means it should be all optical. So this you cannot use the regenerator. Even if the node supports regenerator, you should not use it. So it is up to you whether you want to use the regenerator or you don't want to use the regenerator. So the architecture, over there, it should support this facility. So basically the idea is not difficult, that you have an optical cross connect. If you want to have a regenerator, then you have to pass it through this thing. So your signal comes. So you should use this port. This is your regenerator. Then you get it over here. Then it should be sent like this. So then you'll be using regenerator. And suppose if you don't want to use regenerator, so in the same node, what you will be doing? So you have a optical cross connect. So you have a regenerator, it is there, but you don't use it. So you take this path. You don't use this regenerator. So this is basically how you reconfigure your switch, optical cross connect. So it's this light path is a translucent light path, and transparent light path means all optical. So you should not use a regenerator. So categories of optical network. So optical network basically are three categories. So one is the fully switched or opaque network. The other one is the all optical or transparent network. The third one is the translucent networks. This is three types. So what is the fully switched or opaque network? So opaque network. So each light path undergoes OEO conversion in every node on its route from its source node to the destination node. Each light path undergoes OEO conversion in every node on its route from its source node to destination node. So suppose you have to set up a light path from source node to destination node. So on every node, you have to use this OEO conversion. So like, let's say I have to set up a light path from here to here. So this is my source node. This is my destination node. So for every node, I have to use a OEO converter. So I have to use a OEO converter. So basically that thing, that red node, I have to use. So you have to use regenerator. So if you use regenerator, so basically you have a light path. Although we say this is my light path, so basically it is made up of small light paths. But actually, since you are not introducing any new traffic, so just you are using OEO converter. So actually OEO converter can be used as a regenerator. It can be used as a wavelength changer. It also can be used to add new traffic, because suppose this node has local traffic. Since you are processing electrical domain, you may also add new traffic. if you have that provision, because you are going for electrical processing. So electrical processing, you can aggregate two traffic streams. So let's say here that data rate is 0.2 Gbps and here it is 0.3 Gbps. You can aggregate them. Then you can make it 0.5 Gbps. Actually, when you are using IP router, so we are basically doing this thing. Suppose you have a OXC. I will show you in another diagram I have. So suppose we have a OXC and here you have an IP router. So let's say this is another OXC. Basically, this is another city. This is another OXC. So now, let's say you are using, so instead of regenerator, basically you're doing regeneration, but you are using it through IP router. So you are sending signal over here. Okay. Then in the IP router, basically it is IP packets. So IP packets is there. Suppose you have some traffic to send from this node to this node, and also you have some traffic to send from this node to this node. So basically this is one traffic stream, this is another traffic stream. So you are sending to IP router. So you are using this physical path, and let's say your light path is this portion. So light path comes here, then you convert to electrical layer, then you get IP packets. Then you have, this is a basically you can say it's a edge router. So this the edge router is connected to other routers. So these routers will send their traffic. So this is your access network traffic. So this traffic will be aggregated along with this traffic, and let's say this IP router finds that all its route, the next hop router address is here, then it will use this port. So all traffic will go. So what you are doing, basically you are doing OIO processing, but you are implementing, you are using it through IP router. It is just not simple OIO converter. OIO converter is a simple optical to electrical, then electrical to optical. But here it is basically you are using IP router. So, but it fundamental structure is that there has to be a one OIO. You have to get electrical signal, then electrical signal to be sent to the IP router. Then your IP packets will come, and then again you have to use convert the signal from electrical to optical. You have to go for electrical to optical processing. I have another structure, another architecture. There I will show that how IP routers are connected. Anyway, so for opaque network, so you have to set up a source to destination, and you have to set up a light path. And since if your network is an opaque network, then you should, for every node, you use a edge regenerator. Then it's a opaque network. Network may be of any size, because you are doing regenerator, using regenerator, so you can go any number of hops, because every time the signal is refreshed. Costlier and slower. Costlier means your regenerator you are using. Slower in the sense that of course there might be some delay for OIO processing, but some delay will be there. But does it involve that much delay? The thing is that processing, if it is not going to IP layer, I don't consider it is that slower. It is little bit slower because your signals are there, then you are converting to electrical processing. Just you have to get back the threshold value, you have to identify it is 1 or 0, then you are transmitting. But I don't consider there is any buffer here. For OIO processing I'll see, but in OIO converter there is no buffer as far as I know. So I have to see how much delay is there. That I'll see. Okay, I'll check. And this is your opaque network, and the second one is the transparent network. So transparent network, as we know, that from starting from the source node to the destination node, you have a all optical light path. So that means in the intermediate nodes there will be no electrical layer processing. Leaving the optical node for source destination, faster and less costly. So it is less costly because you are not using regenerator. Suitable only for networks covering relatively small geographic area. Okay, because if you have to have a transparent network, so that means all your light paths should be transparent. Okay, if it is a opaque network, so that means all your light paths are opaque. Okay. If it is a transparent, so all your light paths have to be transparent. So that means that suitable only for network covering relatively small geographic area. High bit error rate when the transmission distance is high. So let's say you have to set up a light path from here to here and your physical route is this. So how many hops? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hops. So let's say every distance is 500 kilometers. So 3500 kilometers. And it's a transparent network. So first of all, you should have a good quality transmitter so that your transmission reach is at least 3500 kilometers. And even if you have this thing, so you see at the receiving end, your signal to noise ratio will be very low, or your BER will be large. So high bit error rate when the transmission distance is high. But the best case is the translucent network. So selected node have the capacity to regenerate optical signal. Some light path using routes longer than the optical reach undergo OEO conversion at some regenerating nodes on its route from their respective source to their destination. So that means here some of the nodes will have regenerator, because as we mentioned, as we know that regenerators are expensive devices. So you cannot put regenerators at every node, maybe some selected node. So this is a problem. Then you have to address this problem where you should put regenerator. So this is called the regenerator placement problem. Because in the opaque case, you have regenerator in all nodes. In transparent networks, so all your light paths are transparent. So you should not use regenerator. Now this is a translucent network. So translucent network, as they mentioned, that regenerator should be placed only selected nodes. But how to select those nodes? So there is a regeneration placement problem. So this is a, like, if you use regenerator, then you have those problems that your light path topology design problem, then traffic routing problem, then under light path topology design you have virtual topology design, and then RWA problem. So you have VTD, you have RWA. So this comes under light path topology design, and then you have traffic routing. But nowhere we have considered there is regenerator. We have not considered there is wavelength converter. We have not considered. So now if you have regenerator, so then, and your network is translucent network, then you have to select where you should put regenerator, because regenerator is an expensive resource. So some light path using routes longer than the optical reach. Suppose you have to set up a light path from here to here. This route is very large, so there you should use a regenerator over here. Again, there is this thing. So this is, you can consider this is a light path. Entire thing is a light path, but you are regenerating over here. Actually, some material also say that since it comes from an electrical layer processing, you are using a transmitter, so it's basically it composed of two light paths. But the idea is that since you are not aggregating any local traffic, they say, some materials say no, this is not a new light path. This is basically the same light path. Only here there is a OEO conversion. Okay, the idea is not just this thing. That difference is whether your local traffic is added or not. Since local traffic is not added, they consider source to destination one light path, and this light path is a translucent light path. So translucent network means that all your light path, whatever you set up in the network, they have to be translucent. Translucent network means that some of the light paths will be translucent because you don't have regenerator at every node. So sometimes suppose you have to set up a light path from here to here, from here to here. you can set up a light path over here and then another light path over here. Or you can say you set up a light path from this source node to this destination node along with using a regenerator over here. So this is a opaque light path. Okay. Opaque light path. Okay. They use it. Translucent light path, this term they have used. Okay. Then each light path undergoes Oyo conversion in every node on its route from source to destination. So this is your source node, this is your destination node. So basically source to destination, they consider it one light path, and in the intermediate node, every intermediate node, there is a regenerator. This is called a this is the opaque network has this type of light path. So there's, you can say opaque light path, but it is not used in that way. So opaque network, because this network is called opaque network, it uses a light path where this light path undergoes regeneration at every intermediate node. Transparent light path also they are not using. Basically, the light path is all optical, so that is called a transparent light path. Okay, you can use it. That transparent network they are using, so that means all light paths are transparent. And when they are saying opaque network, so that means all light paths are opaque. So that means there is in the intermediate node there will be Oyo conversion. So translucent network means that it is in between the opaque and so basically there are three cases. So extreme cases, these are two extreme cases. So opaque network, then you have transparent network, and then in the intermediate portion you have translucent network. So translucent network means there will be some light paths which are opaque light paths and some light paths which are transparent light paths. Transparent light path means all optical light paths, and opaque light path means in every node, intermediate node, there will be regeneration. Okay, and there can be some light paths which are also translucent. Okay, some light paths are translucent. So some light paths translucent means that like this. Here this is one light path, and then there is another light path. So this light path from here to here, you can say it's a translucent light path. So translucent network provide the advantage of both opaque and transparent because it is in between. So it gives the advantage from both sides. Less costly than opaque network because you don't require so many regenerators. Sufficiently fast. Low bit error rate because if your light path length is very long, so you can in the intermediate node, some of the intermediate node you can go for regeneration. So you can improve these bit error rate. Okay, and suitable for network covering a large or very large geographical area. But so now the challenge will be that how to use these wavelength converters because you have limited number of how to use the regenerators because you have limited number of regenerators. So if you can effectively use it, this performance should be better than the opaque case and the transparent case. So one diagram, the transparent light path diagram they have shown. This is source node, this is destination node. Nodes without 3R regeneration. This is the node with 3R regenerator. So this is the transparent light path. Transparent light path. So this portion, so let's say, so your entire light path is a translucent light path. So this translucent light path is made up of 3 transparent light paths. First one, this is the second one, and this is the third one. because you see that in the intermediate node, you are not using any regenerator. So maybe considered as a concatenation of two or more transparent light paths. So concatenation of two or more. Look, they're using this term, transparent light paths. So transparent light path means all optical light path. So this portion is all optical. So this is one transparent light path. This is all optical. Another transparent light path. This is all optical. This is another transparent light path. But overall light path, it is your translucent light path. Just the idea, the difference is whether you use the 3R degenerator in the intermediate node or not. Okay, so I think it is okay. So what we discuss here, that first we discuss wavelength converter, then we discuss this thing, that your 3R degeneration. So 3R degeneration, so regenerator placement problem will be an important issue in case of your translucent network. So what network we see, it's a translucent network, because opaque network there is a limitation that your every intermediate node you have to go for OEO processing, even if it is not required. If it is not required, so why unnecessarily you will be using any expensive resource? So for transparent, it says that all light paths should be transparent. So whatever be the light path you want to set up from here to here, the distance is 3000 kilometer. You have to, if your network is transparent network, it should be all light paths should be transparent. So that is sometimes it may not be feasible, because then your bit rate will be very high. And the third one is the translucent network. So some light paths would be translucent light path. So translucent light path means this is your translucent light path. So for translucent network, some of the light paths should be translucent. This is your translucent light path, and you see the translucent light path has also transparent light path, and so there are three transparent light paths. Okay. So any doubt? Hello?
No, sir.
Okay. So next this coming Thursday, as we mentioned, that there will be one class test. So syllabus will be that your from the beginning, then your this that light path setup, that static light path design, then your protection restoration, then your this wavelength changer. Okay, for the time being, let it be till this thing, that before this 3R degeneration. Okay. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so starting from the beginning, the syllabus will be till this wavelength changer, excluding only this regeneration part. Okay.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Sir, what type of question will come in this in the exam? That means whether it will be descriptive or objective?
No. Descriptive question I will not give. Some problem like that. Suppose you are given a network, and let's say if I say that maybe a simple network, then I show that using HLDA scheme setup light paths.
Okay.
Then maybe you have studied the optimization formulation, LP-based formulation. Maybe some like if I change the objective or some of the constant, and then say that you write a LP-based formulation. Yeah. Or maybe your that wavelength assignment scheme you have studied. So maybe I give a particular topology and say these wavelengths have to be set up. So tell me how the wavelengths will be allocated. And then maybe that blocking probability. So those equations. Okay. So maybe some values you may be told that you compute those values. A theoretical question I will not give. So based on the derivation what we have done and whatever the expression you have studied, so from there based on those the questions will be set. And regarding that protection restoration schemes, okay, the protection switching time, then restoration time, maybe there we can tell that you describe the procedure. Yeah. And if you if I mention you that you write down this thing that your protection switching time, restoration time, you should be able to you should define all the parameters that you are using. Only expression
Okay.
will not work. You have to properly define that what are the parameters. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay. By then, we'll meet Thursday.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.